We have a very important panel, and once Aristotle, the great Aristotle, he says, law is the reason, free from passion, and today's businesses must navigate law, compliance, and risk wisely. So let's give a round of applause to our legal panel to tell us how to start business that we are staying away from any risk that we have. We have Mr. Noman Tarin as our moderator, Mr. Arash Warid, and Ms. Mehria Yusufi. We have a
Well, thank you so much, everybody, and I'm very happy and delighted to be here. My name is Numan Tarin. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, the founder of Tarin Immigration, the co-founder of the Light of Hope Foundation, and an immigrant and refugee advocate as well. So I'm very happy and honored to be part of this panel, and with me I have two wonderful distinguished guests. One of my panelists who was supposed to join us from LA unfortunately could not come, Mr. Caddy. However, I'm very delighted and happy to have Mr. Arash Warid, who is a lawyer, as well as Ms. Maria Yusufi with me here in this panel. So that said, Kakar Saib explained how to start a business from businessman's perspective. However, in this panel discussion, we will be talking about the legal perspective in terms of how to start a business. This is very, very important part. I know many of you will be eagerly waiting to know how to start a business. So with that said, I would like to maybe perhaps give you an opportunity, Mr. Warid, to open with your opening remarks in terms of how to start a business.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. خدا کنه همه جور صحتمند باشن. احترامات تقدیم میکنم به همه شما. Thank you for having us. Thanks for the Canada Afghanistan Business Council for the invitation. When Amiri Saib first approached me to sit on this panel, I was thinking that nothing in a room full of entrepreneurs probably excite them more than listening to a lawyer talk about law. So I kind of get that, and to make it even worse, I think we're standing between you and your delicious dinner plates. So we'll try to make it very short. We'll try to make it succinct. The idea, I think, the one thing that I would suggest you guys think about as businesses, as entrepreneurs, is that when you think of a business, I always go back to one of my clients, Afghan clients, who would say, running a business is like navigating traffic in Kabul. You can only improvise so much until you hit the potholes and the Karachis and the animals and all that stuff. So sometimes folks think of law as those potholes. That, okay, we'll make it work, and when we hit the potholes, then we'll pick up the phone and call a lawyer, and lawyer is going to come and help us out. I think in the way that our community, the Afghan community, has matured over the years, and I see that, and it's extremely impressive. When I look at it, probably 5-10 years ago, I've been in practice about a little over 10 years, and when I see how much we have grown as a community and how mature our businesses have become, I feel that it is time for us to think more proactively than reactive. And by proactive, and it sounds a little self-serving, but I would say whenever you think of starting a business, you want to make sure that you think about all aspects of it in terms of whether you want to structure it the right way, whether you want to have the appropriate accountants, appropriate, experts who can help you navigate that process. To come back to your question in terms of what is the best structure that would be ideal for your business, I guess it depends on, again, it's a lawyer answer, it depends on what your circumstances are. If you're an individual who may not have any other job and you're looking at starting a business, it may work in your favor to do a sole proprietorship. Or if you're concerned about your, about your liability or about, managing some level of complexity in a business, or hopefully someday you'll bring somebody else into the business, you might consider a partnership or corporation. So there are a number of structures that might be available to you, but if you have specific circumstances, we can always consider and hopefully work through that.
Sounds really good. Thank you so much. And since we talked about the structure, I think I would be posing the next question to you as well. In your opinion, how can we start a business, and what are the risk and compliance aspects that we need to be mindful of?
Yeah, so businesses, I guess it all depends on what sector you're in, what type of businesses you run. So commonly speaking, I would say a lot of our Afghans are into sort of restaurant businesses or, things like construction. And some of my clients that I've dealt with, there's a lot of elements of, okay, when you think about starting a business, what do you have to think about? You have to think about, what type of business structure you want to establish it under. You want to think about all the regulatory and compliance requirements, whether it's health and safety measures, whether sort of employment standards, whether it relates to privacy. If you have cross-border businesses, for example, some of you may have businesses in Canada and overseas as well. You might have businesses in Middle East. You might have businesses in Afghanistan. You have to think about a number of factors such as, issues relating to anti-money laundering, issues relating to sanctions, in terms of transferring funds from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. And how you navigate all that, there's a bunch of regulatory regimes that you have to think about. So I guess the best way to counsel one would be evaluating the circumstances they are in and then assessing what's the best option for them available. So kind of a lawyer answer, sorry.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think that's really good to keep that in mind. And I'm just going to move on to my right now. I know the starting business is one side of the thing, which you explained it really well. I think talking about from the legal perspective, creating the documents and stuff are very, very important. But still, there is a possibility that we could get sued. I think when you get sued, that's the time that my next panelist can explain a little bit further on it and what are the ways that we could protect ourselves in order not to be sued, I guess.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you again for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. So, of course, once we run a business, there are always chances to get sued, but that doesn't mean that this is the end of the world. If we have a business, we need to protect ourselves, and to protect ourselves, we have to be very proactive in business, which means any type of business you're running, you must have every communication in writing. If it is a text message, the moment, say, you have a contract with a contractor, the moment you agreed with the offer, you entered into a contract. With some of our Afghans that I encounter issues that they are always verbal. There is nothing in writing. So my advice here is, if you're running a business, if you're signing a contract, please have it in writing. Any text message, emails, any photographs, anything that can prove your case, you must have it in writing. So to protect yourself, just follow the rules, make everything in writing, be on top of your work, keep the invoices, the receipts, anything that you have for future records. You never know what happens. All will help you in your future case.
I think you point out to some of the important things that was very, very important. I think documentation is very, very important. I think that leads to my next question as well. Let's say if you get sued, what type of evidence or documents do you need to gather to be prepared for that small claim court's matter?
So again, if you are sued and you need a written evidence, we highly rely upon the expert evidence. If there is a dispute in your businesses, if there is a fight, suddenly happens, or if a contractor walks away, the first thing you do is you go to a police station, you report that incident. Because that police report will count, that will build your case, and that will build your case stronger. So again, all written communication that you have, text messages, emails, police report, anything in writing will help you build the case, and those will be counted in court. Thank you.
That sounds great. I think I'll be asking you one last question, and then I'll move on to Mr. Warad for the last question as well, and then I have something to share as well. So you only deal with the small claims court. So what is the threshold in terms of the monetary threshold for cases to be taken to a small claims court? If you could explain that a little bit.
Sure. So for now, the monetary limit is $35,000. Any dispute that you have, any contract breaches, up to $35,000, you can take it in small claims court and sue them. But in effective October 1st, 2025 this year, the limit is going to increase to $50,000. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yusufi. And I'm just going to come back to you, Mr. Warad. So my last question, which a lot of people are waiting to hear this answer. So what are some of the best practices in opening and operating a business in Canada?
Again, I think this is the best practices would be to consult professionals early on. I think that if there's one thing that I would advise you all to take away from this discussion or from this panel is that right now you've got a number of tools and technology at your disposal. We are talking about the world in which we are living, sort of ChatGPT and all the other AI models and tools that are available to you. So familiarize yourself with some of those tools. Get help as much as you can. If you want to minimize your cost for legal, one of the main concerns and biggest issues that I've seen with some of the businesses is that they're afraid to go to a lawyer because the lawyer is going to have a big bill attached to their services, and they're concerned that they may not be able to afford it, especially when you start a new business. So my recommendations always to my clients is that why don't you do some of the work yourself? Here's how I would show you to navigate the tools that are available to you, whether you go through the ChatGPT or some other platforms where it creates for you a contract for the intended purpose. And then you come to your accountant, to your lawyers, who will review it and make sure that they tailor the contracts based on the needs of your business. So that's sort of one of the areas that you can use some level of professional expertise, but at the same time, based on the technology that are available to you, you can navigate that. So I would say one other thing that I think my colleague was referring to in terms of contracts, being proactive in establishing robust contractual terms in your business, partnership agreements, all of that not only prevents issues down the line, but it actually helps you upsell and hopefully scale your business sometime. Because the more established your business is, the more the systems of quality controls are established in your business, you have a better opportunity to find a prospective investor or a buyer who would know that your business is actually done from ground up, very thoughtfully, very robustly, and that way you can succeed. So one last comment I would make is be proactive. Usually prevention costs less than litigation. That one message, if you want to take away from this, be proactive, because certainly prevention costs less than litigation. Once you're in litigation, in this, unfortunately in Canada, it is a downhill stream. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much. I want to thank both of my panelists, but more importantly, I want you two guys to thank them. Put your hands together and give a big round of applause for both of these two wonderful people. And as many of you guys know, I'm very passionate about immigration, and that's where I practice. I want to take 1 minute of your time to mention about something very, very important. As many of you guys know, Group of Five sponsorship and community sponsorship was paused since last year, November 2024, right? And it will be paused until December 31st this year. It's not confirmed. I heard that this will continue to a certain period of time, which we don't know when it will open again. So that's it. Tarin Immigration Services, personally myself, came up with a pledge that we want government of Canada not only to wait for December 31st, but open up this program earlier than that date. So I kindly request all of you guys to come to the table. We have a table down there. Please sign this pledge. It's important. I was standing in this, in the booth. A lot of people came to me and asked me about this. When, community sponsorship or Group of Five sponsorship will open. And I did not have an answer to this. A lot of you guys are waiting. A lot of your families are waiting for this opportunity. As you know, life has been getting tougher and tougher in Tajikistan, in Pakistan, in Iran, Turkey, all of those countries. So I sincerely thank all of you guys in standing for your families, but I wanted you two guys to continue this fight, and I want you guys to basically sign this pledge and support this cause. Thank you.
تشکر بسیار زیاد. Thank you so much.